I need y'all to get this part of the information. This is intense. Race. We can't get nothing accomplished. We know a nation is a private company. We know the private company that's known as a nation is no more than a conglomeration of successful families. And we know these successful families have to come from a race, act on one accord from individuals that have taken the time to take themselves serious. A race. So what is a race? A race is a tribe, people, or nation belonging or supposed to belong to the same stock or lineage. Blood. Here go the interesting part. Race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Let's go to Black Scholars Dictionary and see what condition is. In civil law, which means it has a monetary frequency, when your rights are violated, there are laws that have a monetary esteem or commercial value. When people violate you, you can be compensated commercially. Civil rights is what it's called. But your leaders fought for civil privileges instead of civil rights. So you got the privilege to be places with other people, but you didn't get the money that corresponds to violation. Yet, many races have built a platform from your oppression that they use to fund their endeavors. Because the laws have been created in light of your oppression, and they've been compensated every time someone violates them in light of your oppression. Because we don't know how to sue. We haven't learned how to sue. Let's do it. An agreement or stipulation in regard to some uncertain future event. Love this part. In civil law, the rank is a rank or situation, a degree of a particular person in some one of the different orders of society. An agreement or stipulation in regard to some uncertain future event. Not of the essential nature of the transaction, but annexed to it by the parties providing for a change or modification of their legal relations upon its occurrence. What does all this mean? You're dealing with past, present, and future as a race. Past, present, and future. Let's go to the next one. And you get that from the word condition. Just want people to know what our agenda is and where we're going with all of this. As a race, in order for you to qualify yourself as a race, you have to be able to denote your previous condition of servitude. Previous condition of servitude. Condition, according to law, is made up of 3 key exponents: past, present, and future. Past, in terms of your pristine state in history. Where was you at in your greatest peak in history? Where were you at?
In the motherland.
How much did you have? Where were you at? And what was you living for and by? When you were in your greatest position.
You were sovereign, free. You were in the motherland and you had a family structure.
That's right. So we say we got our past, but we have to agree on it. We can't be here like, no, we was ancient Hebrews. No, we was ancient Egyptians. No, we was Muslim. No, we just got to get to certain specifics. How was we living? What did we have?
You had a family structure. You had laws in place. And you had culture.
Now let me show you. Other races have taken the stories out of biblical texts and said, this is us. And we all agree to it. That's it. We the Jews. That's it. We're the Ishmaelites. That's it. We're the Arabs. That's it. They all agree. They said, look, we just got to find something, because this is what sets the stage for a race. We can't be over here arguing about who we were, so we're going to pick something. So we just keep going forward now. So we have in the New Covenant, we talk about the black diamond, where we have our inception. And it was the electrical conduit for the ammonia and the methane that came in contact with the ultraviolet rays while suspended in water, which precipitated the prototype of the first living cell called the protozoa. Okay, we got our own information. That's another story right there. But the point being is this. The point being is this. We have our inception. You need, where was you? How did you evolve? And we have to agree to this. Like every other race has a story where they come from, you know. They're not in disagreement about it. Whether they say God's chosen children, Israel, whatever, they have an agreement where they come from. After that, because this is race, we need to know now where we are presently and how much the civil practice or procedure of today has extracted us or taken us from our pristine state in history. And the difference between those two fundamentally becomes our projection for how we need to reestablish this original archetype, this archetype of our living into the future. And once we do that, we say we're going to need a certain amount of resources to do this. And what are we going to use to generate revenue to get back into the stage that we used to be in the past? Because we see we've come so far, we're on decline. When we look into history and we look at where we are now, we know we're not going to be able to replicate this completely, but idealistically, we want to find ourselves back into similar situations. And this might take us 5 or 10 years outward. So let's start building. How are we going to get there? Maybe we're going to use books. Maybe we're going to use soaps. Maybe we're going to use lotions. Then we have to make rules and regulations like, look, only all of us can buy this, and we won't celebrate cultures that have nothing to do with us, because every time we patronize people on Christmas, none of the money comes back to our culture. Every time we buy turkeys on Thanksgiving, none of the money comes back to our culture. We might have to drop all these holidays. We might have to.
Yeah, that's right.
This ain't Mike, so I don't scare nobody.
That's true.
You gotta say Mike. Some niggas will haul ass out of here if you take Christmas away.
Christmas, huh?
Cats don't get their Easter sneakers, it's a wrap. You want to keep the hood in here.
You want to see them a turkey, you want to be
Like, oh no,
So,
not Christmas.
when I say Mike, I'm being facetious.
And you know Negroes be going mad on Halloween.
You already know, Black Friday, forget about it. As if you ain't spent enough money with this devil.
This devil be taking all their money right under their nose. And give it to him and smiling too.
Yeah. So we know, if we're going to really do something, we're going to have to say, we got to withdraw. We're funding our oppression.
Exactly.
We're going to have to withdraw and say, yo, it's time to stop. But we also have to put something in its place.
Exactly.
Because we just withdraw and don't put something in its place, then we're going to be right back where we started. It'll just be a boycott that ends overnight. It'd be Solidarity Day, and that's it. And then everything we didn't buy the day before, we're going to buy the day after. Definition of macroeconomics. So now we have to go on a macroeconomic scale to what we need to do. What is the macroeconomic scale? Macroeconomics, according to Investopedia.com, a very good source for business definitions and government definitions, is the field of economics that studies the behavior of the aggregate economy. Macroeconomics examines economy-wide phenomena such as changes in unemployment, national income, rate of growth, gross domestic product, inflation, and price levels. We're going to go into gross domestic product today. Definition of gross domestic product: the monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. Though GDP is usually calculated on an annual basis, it includes all of private and public consumption, government outlays, investments, and exports, less imports that occur within a defined territory. What does all this mean? This is very important, gross domestic product. Let's read it again. The monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific time period. Let's stop. Very important. This is part of macroeconomics. Because in order for us to qualify ourselves as a race, which we do by way of our status correction, which we put on record legally what we stand for and what we don't stand for. We put on record what we stand for and what we don't stand for. What we agree with that's going on in society and what we don't agree with. And the tenets to which we live and our moral principles. This is the status correction. Legally. And when a group of us do this, we codify our means as a race. But we cannot just be a race exclusively because of these things. We also have to have a projection into the future, identify our pristine state of history in the past, and where we find ourselves in the present. So we have who we are presently, who we used to be in the past, and how we'll try to reestablish that in the future, if not even better, and how much resources it's going to take. So now we're at the point of resources. How much resources is it going to take for us to get back into that position again? How are we going to get there? What revenue are we going to generate? What is it that we need? Do we need land? Do we need houses? Do we need homes? How are we going to make the money? How can we provide the services? So New Company provides services with debt discharge because people are in debt. We provide the service. Mortgage specialists because people are losing their homes or getting homes. Status correction because we're making these oaths. So we're providing services. I myself make soap, lotion, deodorant, hand grease, body spray, shoes. We used to have these trades in the outlets, you know. We used to know how to do a lot of things when you had no choice but to know how to live off the land. And it wasn't that bad until you got spoiled here and you want someone else to do things for you.
Exactly.
Privileges instead of rights. You just go climb up a mango tree and pick the mango, call it a day. Now they're selling it to you for $2.99, a real good one. It's crazy. They're peeling pieces of wood from tree and calling their herbs and pieces of plastic. Pieces of wood. And charging you for it. When you could just live off the land. And when you had the opportunity to live off the land, you wanted the privileges that man gave you. But God gave you the unalienable right to live off the land. But you want man's privileges for a few benefits so you can be lazy as a race. Gross domestic product. So now as a race, how are we going to get the economic momentum to get where we got to go? Monetary value of finished goods and services produced within the country's borders. Real important. Let's go to the next one. I'm showing you. This gross domestic product is important to a race. You got inflation, potential GDP, gross domestic product, and deflation. Remember, GDP is what you make. Gross domestic product. What you make out of the goods and services at the end of a year or quarter. The Department of Commerce gives us a quarterly report every 3 months of how much money America has made off of all the goods and services that they provide every 3 months. And if they are on decline 2 consecutive quarters, which is 6 months, half a year, it's called a recession. That's what the recession is. What's interesting about gross domestic product? We don't have one. Well, we do provide goods and we do provide services. We just have an enterprise. We have DVDs we sell. We have lectures that we teach. But it's like sewing metal to try to get the teachers to work together and get the DVD sellers to work together and enterprise and say, let's put a sale on these DVDs. And let's get everyone that sells these DVDs on the street to give a simple $150. You're selling over 20 teachers stuff, right? We're not actually even giving each of the 20 teachers something, which you should. We're not even asking that no more. We say, just give up $150. That's less than $10 for every teacher you sell every day of every month. Because you did $10 for every teacher, and you're selling 20 teachers material every $200. And that'd be in one day. I'm not going to make it sound like Ventus is making thousands of dollars, but I will tell you, there's not a lot to ask if you're selling 20 different options at the end of the month. But we say 150. And we say at the end of every month, you got to give up 150. And what we'll do, we'll put a sale on these DVDs that represent the fact that you'll put $150 up every month and light up the benefit to sell the intellectual property of the lecturers. And this money will go into a fund or an escrow account. Now, what else are we going to do? We get the lecturers. We say, look, just add $150 to what you cost to come in town. But you have to give $150 if you want to teach in our community. You got to give up at least $150 of the money you make. And you got to put that into the same fund. Okay? So every lecturer has to be down. Otherwise, the people in the responsible community don't listen to you. I'm coming right now. And if someone's selling the DVDs and we don't see that seal there that represents our unity, then we turn around and say, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. Because guess what? These teachers wind up growing old, not having a place to live. They wind up growing old, they need to get their teeth fixed. And we don't have nothing organized, so spontaneous. We just try to get donations at the lecture, and hopefully it's enough. If it's not enough, then hopefully their family got their back. But we can create our own health care. Because we have product, the DVDs, we have services, the people teaching. That in itself, we can enterprise and create a fund. So when people wind up into jams in the community, patrons, advocacy, other forms of supporters and activists, there's something there for them that they're entitled to. Pension plan. Then more people be encouraged to teach. And then the children or the offspring of these teachers don't mind being teachers because they see we take care of our own. This is the idea. But you see what happened is, every 3 months we can say, how much did we make from DVDs and lectures? Because that money keeps going into a fund. And now we have a gross domestic product. Yeah, it's only made up of 2 categories for now, until we get bigger. Because we might say, let's invest some of this money into something else later. See how it works? When we do it in an organized fashion, a bootlegger can't even live. Because we would know now, when I buy a DVD from this person is responsible for seeing to it that if my child decides to be a teacher, this person is also responsible to see to it that while we have health care in our own community, because these taxes that are being paid on these dudes is going towards the whole. So why would I buy from someone who's not part of the whole? It would never affect me personally. So the incentive will be there not to buy bootlegs. Because there will be some uniformity where we say, well, these group of people are responsible for seeing to it that we have this health care. But the question is, do the teachers have it in them to give their 150 every election? Even if they don't make it. And they take out their own pocket. Do the DVD sellers have the integrity to say, you know what, every month 150, and it goes to the same fund? And escrow account, 3 signatures. No money can come out unless 3 signatures come out. No one person in control. And we can switch the signatories if need be every 6 months to make the community happy. And anybody that contributes to it gets the quarterly report for our gross domestic product and what we made off of lectures and DVDs.
That could work. That could work.
This is what I'm proposing to the community. Because we can't keep letting the teachers die with nothing. And then their teachers, their children are looking like, and you want me to be conscious too? I'm about to try to get this record deal. Why should I try to be conscious? Look what these niggas do for the people that they're credit for changing their lives. Gross domestic product, that's how racists behave. See, Jews have their own hospitals, Jews have their own schools, so part of their gross domestic product is what they're making off their own school system. Because when you have your own school system, you can create your own textbooks. When you have your own textbooks, people have to buy them. So now you're making money from the services, and then you have people teaching as well. So now you're making money off the services and the goods. The goods are the textbooks, the services are the teachers. Your school system is generating enough revenue for you to facilitate the means to have a synagogue. Where people just praying there and being there. So now you can keep that part of your culture secure, the spirituality. This is about organizing. That's what we're talking about. We ain't talking about no foolishness here. It's about organizing.
If black people come together, we could do it.
We can do it. We already have something. We already have enough to start us off. We already have. We just got to get it to people and put the pressure on everybody that's part of the community, because this thing is going to go down and go to hell soon. And we let these YouTube people that keep throwing out beef left and right, and we let these assholes that keep putting out Facebook messages disrespecting other people, blog talk shows disrespecting people in the same community, if we keep letting these people do this, they will destroy what potential we have as a community to bring ourselves up. We actually have a conscious community, it exists, but we're letting people destroy it because we're stagnant and we're not really moving towards something in particular.
And you know what causes it? Hate.
Hatred. But you see, if a few of us just say we focus enough, we're going to do it, the hell with everybody. But people are culture criminals, and criminals wind up in prison eventually. This is what real racists do. They're sovereign in their own capacity. We don't have to go to external forces. Remember the definition for sovereignty. We don't have to go to external forces that ask them to do lectures, and we don't have to go to external forces that ask them to produce our DVDs. So we are sovereign in that capacity that this is something we actually control. No one can just come in here and say, I'm your lecturer. No, the people have to decide who's their lecturer. The people have to decide if they're going to even buy the DVDs. So this makes us sovereign in our capacity. We do it the right way. No external power has anything over that but us. So what do you mean we can't be sovereign? It's just foolishness with people talking. So we go to the next one. We go hard. So of course, if blood is thicker than water, it's materials at legal condition. Passing those historically our pristine state of history, present, how far in retrospect to our past we have been separated from our original state, mostly in part due to the civil practice of this day and time, and future, how to bridge the gap between our past, pristine state, and present circumstance in which we live today that represents our decline when we review our history. Let's go to the next one. I'm not playing around, I'm telling you. We got this, we can do this as a people. So when you look at blood is thicker than water, and we say a nation is a private company, what do nations do? You ever use PayPal? Anybody use PayPal? When you set up the account, they want to know idealistically how much money you might be making a year. Now you just guess, you probably say $10,000, $20,000. You know, niggas be feeling uncomfortable, so we try to put it in a lower amount. We don't even know why we do it. It's like, just put it lower. You know, it's always better to put lower. But the thing is, that's a projection. Because your vision is an asset. Your vision. You know, back in religious days, the king always wanted to know who the soothsayer is. Who's the guy that can read into the future? He's the most valuable person. The most valuable person. Your vision is an asset. What you think you're going to make from PayPal, PayPal turns that into real money.
Yeah, they just bought NASA.
PayPal just bought NASA. Not real money, the vision that you think you're going to make 10,000 at the end of the year, you think you're going to make 30, you think you're going to make 5, you think you're going to make 15. And they take all of those, and those represent goodwill bonds. Pledges. These are people that join our PayPal community, and they made pledges that they think they will make this year to year. Now, this is our vision, this PayPal, and we need X amount of resources. The amount of resources that we need versus the pledges or the potential that these people have given us qualifies them to get a credit line. As a race, we need to do the same thing. As a race, you get the goodwill bond of the people. We have one for the new covenant. We have one for the new covenant. We get goodwill bonds, pledges. Pledges that the people say that their effort in the community in some shape, form, or fashion, monetarily or through service, will be worth $10 million, or what have you. And when these pledges accumulate, or these goodwill bonds accumulate, that potential amount of money that we're speaking about from each member saying, yo, I'm worth 10 million in service and goods, I'm worth 10 million in service and goods, I'm worth 10 million in service and goods, that potential and all those goodwill bonds or pledges represent what is called GAAP assets, or generally accepted accounting principles. It's called GAAP assets. And what you have, you get about 9 people to record these GAAP assets. They become your IPH, your intellectual property holders. Your intellectual property holders now, they take this information and pass it over to your CPA. Your CPA is going to create a financing statement defining these GAAP assets or the potential earnings. In addition to your goals, because as a race, you gotta have goals. So you're gonna maybe say, yo, we're trying to reestablish ourselves as we used to be in history. And you know what, that's gonna take probably $500 million to do so. Now what we do have the books that we've been writing. We do have our homeschooling program. We do have the lectures that we've been dealing with. We have these goodwill bonds that the people have. And what we're trying to do is find a cross between what we need and what we have and what we will have based on what we already do earn. And quarterly, this is what we look like in terms of gross domestic product. And by the year, this is what we look like. And we have the pledges, and this is what we have. Now we need you to take the ratio between the pledges and what we already generated and create us a statement where we can get extended a line of credit as a race. And that's how you erect the nation. So start off with GAAP assets, which are generally accepted accounting principles. You get about 9 parties to collect these goodwill bonds, which generated your generally accepted accounting principles. And they become your IPH, your intellectual property holders. And then they take that information, pass it over to the CPA, who will now quantify this information, which we'll go over. He'll turn it into 4 things, as you gave it to them as 2. The vision becomes an asset. The CPA passes it over and gives it to an escrow agent. The CPA passes it over and gives it to an escrow agent. Of course, your community should have the escrow agent already on deck and hired.
Go ahead, brother.
The escrow agent now executes the right of private placement so you can qualify as a group, community, organization, or race to get the credit line. And this is based on what you most likely will make, just based on the pledges that people said they're willing to give. The same thing happened in America based on the birth certificate, but the thing was you wasn't given full disclosure that you made a pledge. Gotcha.
Amen.
America has submitted pledges on your behalf without giving you disclosure. In this particular case, you have full disclosure. That's the only difference. They have made a credit line out of promissory notes, bonded promissory notes, or certificates in the form of the birth certificate. By identifying you as a product of the water, based on the laws that rule the seas, admiralty. They don't have you as an actual living being. They have you as a product of the water, a legal fiction. And they create a credit line out of you being a good. In this particular case, we're dealing with reality. So you have the gap assets, generally accepted accounting principles, you have the intellectual property holders, then you have the CPA, then you have the hired escrow agent. And this escrow agent is going to take this information and turn it into private placement, and on a larger scale it becomes what's called SDRs, which are special drawing rights. That's when you're on a country scale. You get special drawing rights, but on an organizational or race scale, it's called private placement when you get a line of credit extended to you. Alright? So, we have here in this chart, our vision is an asset. Your vision is an asset. You actually can get a credit line based on a vision, or what your potential is based on the pledges of a group of people that are living in conformity to the same way of life, or share or have an invested interest in the same ideology. Our vision is an asset when sovereignty is the conception. And of course, we went over the gap assets, the generally accepted accounting principles, the obligation of intellectual property holders, the CPA, the accountant will quantify data via bannering, which is what it's called. Then of course you'll hire an escrow agent to execute right of private placement. Now if you follow that line, and you go down here, remember the vision is an asset best reflected by the project and its corresponding pledges. The length of the project is years, products to make the revenue from, and how much more needed to meet goals as a race. We're going to branch out over here. They're going to quantify the means. Okay, your CPA will do a lot of this. And you're going to have your projects, like the lectures and DVDs, whatever the case may be, the books. You have the pledges of the people saying, look, I'm going to stay in this community, and I'm going to be committed, and I'm showing some form of fashion. I'm going to be worth $10 million to your community. I'm going to produce in some form or the other, whether it's just sweeping the floor or something. I know I'm worth that much. Okay? And then you have the summation, the future value. Because we're saying we got to consider how much do we need to establish our goal 5-10 years from now to be back into this same pristine state of energy that we once existed in the past. You have to have a goal. So you take that future value and the assets that correspond with thereof, and now the means has been quantified because it started out as a project with pledges. Now it's a project with pledges, a summation for future value and assets. So we start again with the generally accepted accounting principles, the gap assets, the IPAs, the intellectual property holder, down to the CPA is going to create the financial statement, on to the hired escrow agent, which is going to execute the right of private placement on a smaller scale for organizations, but on a larger scale, it's special drawing rights, SDRs.
Take a break for Hazi, never war. The man I told some great time will have Shekator. Shekator, what the wild get before the power. You said I should need, we yeah, the Shekator. To men, Del, our back. Shit, fools, I will pass it, Shekator. Tikalu Zayu, them Sabet, no water contest, a Kalu Aku's part next to her. I see Stella in a pass of things. I said, Sabu Dabu, Wahakuma, Sabu down so fast, I knew Tale, Pata, Dere, Hasama. Neluki kama hawa Kanshia tunatata Pasta ba walamu Yakuteka mushiwaya Hamas dewa nechi yaku tafu Kazubara hiru Kamu haku rain naka creature satu chalu ramu kau mera yune habu asu haka kasu after shubu saru ni no kamiro alpa taru hala nara kus wabu lau aruna karu down galu jamu wau pabi makalu malu gabu karpa tutena amurau sayuna asu papa gawu jadu hamalazi basu kamu kazu tayu kazu kamu kagu lasu kanule antuna saru kayu masu Dikalon keep fire Dikalana net no water atum break Why do